Hey everyone, we are going to jump into our Sunday crude oil analysis video. As you know, I am the professor, and I just want you to know that we are going to have subtitles, okay, in over 10 different languages. I promise for our international folks, I am going to go super slow today. That way everyone can understand. But if English is not your primary language, you can definitely catch the closed captions below. Now, we are going to be starting on the monthly chart, and then we are going to work our way down because we can see right here that we had this rejection point. So I am going to be showing you what Fibonacci level that is on the monthly chart. And then, of course, we are going to walk it all the way down. But before we do so, I want to give a huge shout out to our members area. We just hit over 60 members over the past 2 weeks. Super excited for all of you, getting so many great testimonials. So if you are brand new to this channel, if you have not yet joined the membership area, you can grab that link below in the video description area for $4.99 a month. Yes, a month for a cup of coffee. Come in, get access to our private chat, trade setups, private training, and all that good stuff. Okay, so without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into our crude oil analysis video. Okay, so as I mentioned, we are going to get started on this monthly chart. And the first thing I want you to do is go over and grab a Fibonacci retracement and drop it from that high down to this low. And the first thing we see there is that based on the last month, of course, when we see and we begin now this month in October, we know that September has officially over and has rejected that 50% Fibonacci level. So what I want you to do for the rest of this video, two things. Number one is follow along with me. That way, maybe open up your own trading view chart, pause the video and follow along. So by the end of this video, you can have your entire chart marked up as well. And if you stay until the end of the video, I'm going to share with you a quick 1-minute scalping strategy on crude oil using a couple of different tools. So stay tuned for that. So let's jump back into the monthly chart. So we can see here that we have this rejection right here. And if we look over here, we have not been able to close. Okay, this was back in October of 22 and then November of 22. And we've now reached those levels right in there. So for now, what I'd like to do is I'd like to go ahead and mark this. And I'm going to start using yellow for the contrast. Okay. And then what I want to do is I want to grab a text box and I want to go ahead and put in here, right, monthly resistance. Okay. And I'm just going to drop that right in here because I am going to be removing these fib levels for now, okay, on the monthly. So we know now that on the monthly, we are going to establish this resistance because we have not been able to close. And so what we want to do is develop a game plan. By the end of this video, you are going to have a game plan for the different time frames, depending on whether you're a swing trader or if you're a scalper. I want to give all of you an opportunity to take trades from this plan right here. So now what we want to do is go down to the bottom side, okay, and take a look at right here. We have not been able to close below this monthly resistance. So this here is going to be our monthly support level. Okay. So again, when we've come down here, right, we have not been able to close. So we really, right, are working on a big time frame scale. We are working within these areas right here. So now let's go ahead and drop to our weekly time frame. Okay. Now, as you can see right here, what do we begin to see? Now, if you understand what this pattern looks like, my members should know this. because we've talked about this several times. So if we go back into the chart, and I want you to go ahead and go down into the comments and tell me we started here and we swung all the way back around to here. What is that called? Okay, we started here and we swung all the way back here. There's a name for that pattern. So if you know what that is right now, and if you're first and you get it right, I'm going to give you a shout out on my next video. Go down below to the comment and tell me what that swing around pattern tends to be called. So on the weekly, we can definitely see here again, here's our wick that rejected the weekly, and we closed in this doji candle. So I'm not going to let you know yet, but I'm going to give you some clues coming up where I believe we're going based on price action. Of course, nobody really knows because no one is 100% concrete. No pattern is 100% concrete, but we are definitely going to do our best. So when we look at this here now, we can now go back into our text box and we can actually say this is both monthly and weekly resistance, right? We can definitely see that here. And then as we go here as well, we can definitely grab another arrow and we can see all the different touch points. So now we also know that this here is going to be monthly and weekly support level. So now we understand that, again, we are working in this broad area, even though we're looking between 60 to 95 on the bottom side. We can begin to develop our game plan. Okay, we can begin to look at our game plan. And really, this is something that I'm having my members do inside of the group is mark up your charts. Because if you know anything at all, if there's one thing that you ask me, what is the one thing I need to know for trading? I'm new. I haven't been trading for a while. Just give me one thing, right? Because I don't want you to have 10,000 indicators on your chart. I think that's counterproductive. If there's one thing you need to know, that is support and resistance. You can make money in this market if you only know support and resistance. So that's what I focus on for 90% of what I do is strictly support and resistance. So now that we are kind of dropping back in here, okay, now what I want to do is I want to go ahead and walk down to our daytime chart, okay? So again, now you can begin to see, right, for those folks that are like swing traders and are in trades for weeks and months at a time, you can see here, right, where entry happened here, right, swung back around, did that same formation that I'm asking you to tell me what it was up here, and then began to swing all the way back down, eventually hit the bottom zone, and then we swung all the way back up. Okay, so again, we're still pretty consistent with that resistance. But now we begin to look at what has price done in the past when it's reached this area. Well, we always want to look to our left, and we can see here that on 1 and 2 occasions, we came down to at least this price point right here. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and mark this price point right here. Okay, that's where price came on both occasions. Now, the first time it came to this level and it came back up to retest and then came back to this level, broke and continued going down. So now we are here. Now, the one thing you should note is that this level we can also see here acted as support, but here acted as resistance. Here acted as resistance. Here acted as resistance. Here acted as resistance. So when you can get a level that acts like both support and resistance, and you have as many touches as that example shows you, then you know that is a pretty strong level. And again, just a reminder that levels are never a straight line. So now what we begin to do is we begin to put a brand new section here because now we know that that on the daily time frame is going to be a level. Okay. And so you can begin to see as we walk this down, you can begin to see how we're beginning to formulate our game plan. No matter where price may go, we are going to have some concrete areas where if price goes, then we are going to act. whether we're going to buy, whether we're going to sell. That's what we want to do. So we're going to walk you down as we continue along these steps. So if you see kind of what's happening here and you see the steps that's going on, what I want you to do again is pause the video, right? I'm giving you a blueprint. My members, I want to see everyone's chart marked up just like this. Pause the video, whether it's TradingView, whether you're trading futures, the price action should be fairly similar. The only thing different might be the actual price of crude oil, but you can mark up the charts in these same levels. And then at the end, we'll give you a quick scalping strategy at the very end of this video as well. And hey, don't forget, right? If you're getting value in this video, you can definitely like the video. And more importantly is sometimes we're impacted by things that we receive from others, right? It's better to give than to receive. So you can give someone this video at the very end, share this video with someone else. It might be with someone who knew nothing about trading, but we all started somewhere. I'm glad that my son 7 years ago introduced me to trading, or I would not be here doing this video. So again, share and impact someone's life by sharing this video. So as we kind of go back into the charts now, we have now kind of begun to look that we are still now going to develop our game plan. Okay. So we can clearly see here that we are still rising. Okay. We are still rising, right? We had here a pullback up, a pullback up, a pullback up, and now we're at this pullback area right in here. So we can definitely see that as of right now, we are still in this uptrend. We actually will not change the trend until we close below 83.81. If we close in here, okay, down in this section, okay, then, and we start coming down here, then we have obviously changed the trend. But for now, consider that we are still in an uptrend, okay? We can also validate that by adding the only indicator I like to have on my chart for now is the 50-day moving average, right? Ironically, right now, the 50-day moving average is lining up also with that zone, which would be the next area to buy if price action tells us to buy. But we're not there yet. But you see how this begins to line up. If you have proper zones, if you have the 50-day moving average, and you can get that congruency, then you feel better about taking an entry position in an area like that. So now that we've kind of established that, okay, we're kind of looking at the daily, we understand that we are still climbing, but for now, we need to wait to see what's going to happen right here. So I'm going to get rid of this thingy right here. And now we're going to begin to develop our entry game plan over the next 3 to 4 time frames. Number one is I want to go ahead and mark this up right here just because I want to put that little baby zone right in there. Why? A lot of traders miss this, right? Because we had a wick and we had a wick. So even over the last 5 to 7 days, we have not been able to close below this price point of 88.69. So what do you think is going to happen if we close below 88.69? We are going to come down to the next major area. But again, we're going to walk this down level by level. So for right now, we are going to play off that zone. So now what I like to do is say, okay, sitting on the daily, a lot of traders like to trade on the daily, right? And again, we also understand that patterns are made like M patterns, right? And then back down. So keeping that in mind, now what I'd like to do is say, okay, are we going to begin to look for an intraday possibility as we walk down? And let me go ahead and remove this orange line. Okay, so now what we want to do is say, okay, now on the daily, let's go ahead and drop a Fibonacci ratio from this wick up to this wick and then down here. Okay, so you can see here that my biggest concern is that we closed below the 61.8. All of you in my group, I'm sorry, know that the 61.8 is where I look for entries between the 61 and the 88. But also, you have to understand the condition of the market. We do know, again, just keeping account in the back of our mind, we do know that there was a report published late last week that I believe it was Saudi Arabia or someone else is looking to stop the cutting of oil, okay, for the remainder of the year. So we may actually have more supply. And if we have more supply, then we can expect the price of crude oil to come down. Secondly, is we also know in the United States, there's a lot of political pressure to keep gas prices down. So that's just something to remember and think about. Again, you know my main line. We trade what we see, not what we hear. But again, I do believe we are going to go at least temporarily lower on crude oil. Okay. That's my initial analysis that we're going to go temporarily lower on crude oil. So the fact that this closed below the 61.8, well, it doesn't mean that I can't stop and turn back around, because we also understand that when we look here, right, in this particular price point here, we might have a small level right in here that it might be coming back. So we are in this area that we would normally look to enter for a buy position to see if price will come back up towards the zero line to make a new high, because again, we are still in an uptrend. So if price analysis and technical analysis and price action works right, price may come a little bit further down, and then we shall see if on the daily we create a new high. Or is this the beginning of a downtrend, walking it down back into the mid 80s? That's where the intraday trading comes in. And that's what I'm going to be focusing on for the rest of this video. So that's kind of our look on the daily. If we look at the 8-hour, now we can see here that things begin to change a little bit. Okay. Because now if we're looking at the 8-hour, okay, and we adjust these fib levels by just a little bit, okay, moving this fib level down to this wick, right, and then fixing this one at the top here, we can see what? Okay, this is where the magic begins to happen if you take the time. We see the 50-day moving average. We can see that the 50-day moving average is a great area of support when price is above it. We see that price came near the 50-day moving average. We see the 61.8, and then we also understand that we have a bottom zone right here. So price action on the smaller time frames is going to be telling us what we are going to do. Now, when I back up on the 8-hour chart, let me make sure I don't create any more new lines, right? We can clearly see here again, right, that we are still, okay, I'm going to grab this right here, right? Here, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. So we're at a critical junction right now, right? This area right here is going to be a critical area on whether we are going to see some type of movement back down. Again, if we get price to close down here, or if we're going to see somewhere here for price to reject and then create a new high above $95 a barrel, right? So again, understand that we are still in this uptrend, okay? So do not deny that, right? We sometimes will take scalps against the trend, and that's why if you listen to my advice and do 15, 20, sometimes 25 points or pips, you're very successful, because we see that retracement all the time. But if you like to be a buyer, okay, like my friend Ivan, one of our members who's over in Europe, he strictly buys crude oil. He waits for the dips on a super uptrend like this. Smart man. He just sits on the dips and on the buys. So this is where you need to decide, am I going to be a seller, am I going to be a buyer, or am I going to be a hedger? I'm going to go in whenever price gives me the highest probability to enter, and that's what I want to cover here. So as we begin to move down now we walk down to the 4-hour, okay? And this is where I believe where I first saw this chart yesterday, I was kind of beginning to look at my analysis, right? I kind of saw this right here, okay? I saw that we had closed here below, and then we kind of came back up to maybe retest this area. And the last time we came back up here, we see a little bit of resistance, right? Which was here. We saw price come back down to the zone. Secondly, I see this wick right here. Selling pressure continued over the last 4 hours of trading before the market closed. It looks like we came up to take liquidity of this candle, just like we did here. Okay, and I'll zoom in a little bit so you can see that. Okay, whenever you see these wicks going to 50% or 80% of the candle above, like it did here, it's grabbing that liquidity. This one grabbed about 20, 25%. So this one grabbed 80% of the liquidity and closed down at the bottom. This is why I begin to believe that we are at least going to come down to this zone this week. Okay, we are going to come back down to the zone, and then we will wait to see what price does. So as we begin to look at the 4 hour, this is where I'm a little bit more bearish than on the other time frames, because I'm beginning to see price action show me that there might be more selling pressure, right? So as we begin to develop this game plan, this is what I begin to write down. This is what I begin to journal. Talking about journals, I'll have a video out for our members first this week, and then I'll put it out public on how you can use TradingView to jot down notes and even journal inside of TradingView. It's a pretty cool feature, so tune out for that at the end of this week. So now, as we are looking at this 4 hour chart, we are going to begin to drop to our 1 hour chart. And again, you can clearly see here, right, as we begin to stay in this spotlight, and that's the reason why I use the spotlight. We're only focusing in right now on this spotlight area. That's where our price is right now. We can see that price closed below, came back up to retest perfectly this level, and then began to drop. Came back up. Here is the liquidity grab, and our price closed down. This is why I'm saying, even though we can expect a gap either up or down, I believe we're going to begin to come further down because of the price action. Okay, because on the 1 hour chart, we did not create a new high up here. Okay, we came down here. So this is a very telling point, again, because if we come back down here, again, this will break the overall trend. So we're still in the higher time frame. We're still in an uptrend. And that's what you have to focus on. The higher time frame, to me, wins over the smaller time frame. But the key is that we use the smaller time frame to look for our entries. So on a big picture, still uptrend, right? But now as we're walking down the smaller time frames, are we beginning to see the trend change? And remember, before anything happens on the 8 hour, the 4 hour, it has to happen on the 1 minute chart, then the 2 minute chart, then the 3 minute chart. So when a trend changes, it didn't just change like that. It changed with all the charts leading up to that higher time frame change. So again, as we continue to look at that, you want to go ahead and say, okay, on the smaller scale, it looks like we are going to be possibly coming further down. Now, as we look at the smaller scale, understand that we are at a key level. So this is where I begin to mark up my key levels. Fibonacci confirmed when I look to the left that this is a key level. And again, are levels in a straight line? Absolutely not. They are in a zone. So we are at a support level right now. Price can easily hit the support level and zoom back up, right? But I'm confident that if we close below this wick right here, we are going to see price action coming down. So this wick right here is going to be very important. If we close below, we'll get to it in just a minute on the smaller time frame, we might see the same thing here. A break below, a retest, and then further down. Same thing here. So it would look something like this. We close, we come back up, and then we head right back down. So that is what we are going to be looking at on the smaller time frame. So keep your focus in on the circle, because the circle is where price action is at right now. So the last thing I want to do here is I want to mark up the gap. Obviously, that is where price closed. So this is our gap right in here. So now as we expand and make this zone bigger, let's drop down to the 15-minute chart, right? So again, we are working in this area right in here. Beautiful, beautiful. And as we begin to zoom out, right, this is why I like the circle. It keeps me focused. But we also know now that we are in this little area right in here. Okay. And what is price going to do? Is it going to come back up to retest again and then from zone to zone? Or are we going to go back down, retest, and drop here? We have to wait, right? We have to wait. So if you're a trader and you ask me right now, hey, where's price going? If I knew that, I would bank my entire house. I would even give my children up if I knew where that was going, right? Because the return on the investment would be amazing. No, just kidding. I would never get rid of them, especially with this little one right over here doing some video editing. So the point is, nobody knows. The market makers know. We don't know. We react to price. They set the price. Remember that. We react to price. They set the price. So as we are dumping here on the 15-minute chart, now we begin to look, okay, what may or may not happen. So again, we would have to close below this wick, and I'm going to leave a visual here so you have it. If we get a candle to close, boom, down in here, then we can expect price to come back down. Okay, price will come back down. It'll hit the next Fibonacci level. So again, those are things that we have to consider. Okay. And again, I'm not even going to talk right now about setting up one of these to the top side because I think we would have a long way to go back up towards this area here. My main focus right now is seeing what is going to happen in the circle because I do believe we are going to come down somewhat in price. Okay. And then again, just another view from this 5-minute chart here. So I know a lot of folks in my group like to trade off the 5-minute, which is great. I also like the 5-minute. So if you like to trade the 5-minute, what you should be focusing on is right here. Okay, I'm going to make this a little bit bigger, right? Let me get rid of this arrow. Let's grab a new arrow. We came below the 50. We came back up to retest the 50. We came below the 50. We came back up to retest the 50 area. Now we are coming below, right? So there's only two things that can happen here. Either it's going to reject and we're going to go back up to retest this area, right? And then we're waiting for another sell opportunity up in here, or we are going to begin to climb down, right? So that is kind of what we are looking at when it comes to that price action. You see, that price action is going to be super imperative in what we do. But here's the good news, right? As a member in the group, you are going to have access to updates, featured information that I'll share with you as price moves, as my alerts go off. I share those in the chart inside of the members. Now, again, my goal is not to feed you information every 5 or 10 minutes, right? I feed you information when it's something important that maybe you should know. I want to build the confidence of everyone in the group to at some point feel confident enough to take trades on their own with a game plan. Because if you do not have a plan, then you plan to fail, right? That famous words, and that is so true, right? So if you've been struggling, if you are down, if you've blown accounts, I'm sure everyone can say, yes, I've done that once, 3, 4, whatever time it is. Those days are going to be over in this group because we are going to practice getting in on good entries, taking small profits, okay? Again, shout out to all the members this week who have said, hey, I made 80, 100, 110 pips because I didn't realize how profitable it was grabbing 10 and getting out, grabbing 15 and getting out, grabbing 20 and getting out, right? The market is very unstable right now. So when it's unstable, or even if it's stable, I like to go in, take my little chunk, and get out each and every day. So we've given you kind of a game plan to look for, right in here, right? So all of this at all these different levels, regardless of the time frame, right, all brings us always back to our daily time frame. So we know that we are here. Okay, we know that we are here. Now, if you stayed here to the end, right, let me kind of tell you what I was referring to with this daytime pattern. So this is called the teacup. And man, I just butchered that drawing because my mouse hit my other mouse over here. So this right here is called the teacup, right? You can see here the bottom of a mug of a teacup, and then usually after the teacup, we see the handle. I believe that we are now creating that handle with this price action, and price will come back down level by level. Is it going to come down to 83? I believe that we are going to see 83 again. Are we going to see 83 tomorrow? No. Right? We're going to see 83 on Tuesday? Probably not. But are we going to see 83 again? That area, I do believe we are going to hit that area again sooner than later, right? Sooner than later. If I had to predict, just to throw one out there and you can hold me accountable, it's just a wild guess. I would say by the end of October, we will see 83 to 85 again. Okay, that's just a wild guess. So as we kind of go back here and begin to look at this pattern, for those of you that answered it correctly, congratulations. I'll check the chats and then I will be giving you a shout out when it comes to that. So what I want to do now is I am going to clear the chart and then I'm going to come back with a clean chart and I'm going to show you a quick 1 minute scalping strategy that takes practice. It takes having some maybe experience doing it, but it's also a way to grab 5 and go. If you only have 45 minutes to trade because you're busy, you're working, this will be a cool little strategy for you. I'm just going to kind of give you an overview, and then I do plan to do a longer form video showing you this, but I want to go ahead and show you this as some extra value on today's video. And again, if you've gotten value on today's video, how you can help me out as a creator, as a trader, as a human being is just to hit the like button, write a comment below, and then share this video on your social media sites. That doesn't cost you anything, and it helps me out, and I greatly appreciate it. So let's jump back into the charts here now and show you this 1 minute scalping strategy on crude oil. Okay, so the first thing I want you to do is head over to this 15-minute chart, and I just want you to take the zones that are obvious, right? I want you to zoom out and kind of look at support and resistance from the different areas, right? The ones that are obvious, right? We're just going to go in here, right? And I'm just going to show you why. Touch, touch, touch. So that we have to the top side, to the bottom side, touch, 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 a whole bunch of traffic, okay? And then what I want you to do is kind of go back over here, and then we're going to kind of zoom out. Next thing I want you to do is I want you to drop all the way to the 3-minute chart. Now, what I like to do at 3-minute chart is I want to make sure and confirm if there's maybe other areas that also could be included. And we can see here that we have this area right here, right? I'm going to show you here. We have all this traffic on both sides, right? Again, let me grab this arrow and delete it. And then just show you again, touch, 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 whole bunch of traffic, touch, 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 and this is the bottom area. Okay, so I think we can all kind of clearly see that on the chart. Last thing I want you to do is go down to the 1-minute chart. Okay, just go down to the 1-minute chart. Now, here that you are on this 1-minute chart, and again, this takes a little bit of practice going on here. Okay, so again, if you have never traded from the 1-minute chart, this little strategy here might be something you want to demo. It might be something you just want to take for practice, and you just want to go ahead and try it out in a demo account. So again, let's kind of get into this. And again, this is just a quick 1-minute scalping strategy to be able to give you 5 points. That'll be my goal. That every time you take this type of trade, that you take 5 points. Okay. Now what we want to do is we want to reintroduce the 50-day moving average. Okay, the 50-day moving average. So here are 2 things to consider on the 1-hour chart. Number 1 is price has to have left either an area of resistance or an area of support. So let's take this first example, right? Remember, price is in an area, okay? And as price is in an area, our first clue is that price broke on the 1 minute below this area, okay? So step number 1 is that price on the 1-minute chart, yes, the 1-minute chart had, to make it safe, has 2 candles that has closed below the 50-day moving average. So we have that it left an area of resistance, and we also have 2 candles that closed below the 50-day moving average. Now, are we going to get into a trade here? Absolutely not. What we want to do is we want to have some form of pullback, okay? Some form of pullback, whether it's a small pullback, something like this. If you begin to look at the charts on the 1 minute, you're not going to see major pullbacks. So what I like to say is have at least 2 green candles, right? 2 green candles. So as we look here and we kind of zoom in right in here, right, we have our 2 green candles, and then we also have our little pullback towards the zone and the 50-day moving average. So as close as we can get to the 50-day moving average, that is going to be our entry, okay? Either coming off a zone or a 50-day moving average. So this scenario would look something like this, where you get in here, okay? You go to the highs, you can go right up to 50. It depends on your risk management. If you don't know what you're doing, you can see either the high or right above the 50-day moving average, right? Give yourself a couple of pips for breathing room. And then what you want to do is you want to go down to your recent lows. So where do you find that? You go over here and you look to the left. So we can see here that price had come here before. So we're expecting price to come back here. And sure it did. You can see it here and you can see it here. So that is your take profit level, right? Now that you have that, you wait for the next pullback. There is your next pullback near the 50. Where do you go? You go towards your next, let me move this back here. You go towards your next lows, but you also understand that you have a zone right here. So you want to go near resistance, which again was right here. And there you can see validation on the left, right? So now that would be your second entry. So you grabbed roughly, let me see here. Let's grab a meter. You roughly grabbed, in this particular case, you grabbed 40 points on a risk of, 20 some odd points, almost a 2-to-1, right? Almost a 2-to-1. This is on the 1-minute chart. Then you do it again here. And again, here, your stop loss would be above this high, and you can take it down to the next zone. So again, now you're talking over a 2-to-1 ratio. Now, what you do is, and again, let me remind you again, this is something that you want to demo first and practice with, okay? Or if you want to use it with a live account with the smallest lot possible, if you don't want to do it on demo, because I want you to practice it. So as you go back in here, okay, you're looking for the pullbacks. So basically what we're looking for is for price to do this. Come down, come up, come down, come up, come down, come up, come down. One is dropping, and we want to buy somewhere near these levels right in here. And if you see that, how many times does that happen here, right? 1, 2, 3. Now we came to a zone, so we should not be trading inside of a zone. But guess what? Price broke the zone, came back up to retest. There's our next entry. Price came down to the zone, came back up to retest the 50. If you wanted to take another one, you took it. Or if your rules were you're in the zone, you don't take it. So that's an example of the selling one, right? Now let's kind of take a look at the example of a buying one. And again, this is why this is pretty cool, because if you're pressed for time, okay, you can do this within, an hour's worth of time. So rule number 1, price has to be leaving an area of support for a buy. It does. It does a pullback. That's our first entry. We take our 5 to 10 points. Price pulls back, consolidates and pulls back. We take another entry somewhere here, very close to the 50. So in this case, it would look something like this. Okay, we're going to close right below the 50, and we're going to go to our recent highs. When we look over here, we're going to see that right over here. Here is all that traffic. So we're here, and here's all the traffic right here, right? So somewhere in that area, or whatever our trading plan is. My trading plan when I do this is 5 to 10 points. Okay, that's my trading plan. Okay, so here, for example, if you took this, let's do the meter. Wow, right? 39 points, right? 39 points. So again, this is a simple strategy. Now what happens here? We pulled back, another entry, right? We cashed out. Hopefully we get another entry. Pulls back up to the zone, we cashed out. Comes back to the 50. You can always try the risk to reward, right? Same thing here. Comes down towards the 50. You get in below these lows right here. Again, we're going into a zone. So again, understand that you may have to trail this one or close out early. It's still a 1.5 to 1. We go in here, and now price goes into the zone, and now we're waiting, right? And now we are doing, we are doing nothing here because we're in this area. We're in this zone here. So we should be doing nothing here. We're waiting for price to break out to one side or the other, and we already covered this sell scenario. So again, this is something that with a little practice, everyone here can definitely do. Again, I learned a while back ago how to trade in the 1 minute. And again, in my long form video, I'm going to be adding Bollinger Bands to show you the strategy that I use and I've shared with some of the members in our private coaching sessions as well. That gives you another confirmation for you to lower your risk, right? And then take your profits. Okay, that's it for this video. I hope you got some massive value today. And I want to kind of see who my loyal watchers are. So if you got this far in the video, I want you to go down below and say, let's go and say the word crude oil rocks. Okay, so if you got this far in the video, drop a comment below to say crude oil rocks. And if you're a member, I'm going to give you a shout out in our members area. If you're not a member yet, I'll give you a shout out either in one of our comments or in one of our future videos as well. Okay, that's it for me. Happy Sunday. If you're watching this video on Sunday, happy whatever day it is. If you're watching this video on another day, ask questions in the comments. I get back to you within 40 hours. And again, if you haven't joined yet for $5 a month, think about it. Join us. See how good you'll do after the first 30 days. And if I don't help you make $5, you can just not renew. But there isn't one person that hasn't made their $5 back within probably the first day that they join. Okay, see you later. Take care and stay safe.